Oh.
I will do the
There we
just now,
go.
just be safe and sorry. But yes, no one needs to worry about audio and everything. It'll all pick up. I will boost your levels. You will all sound great. And Rena, I promise I will not ask you 100 questions that like, yeah, you're the interviewee or interviewer. I could never.
Yeah.
And
Asked
plus,
away.
I'd be creative, but I also I'd give it my best shot. But I feel like you have earned the rank. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't. I would like to know more about you, but like, I also at the same time, I'm just like, you don't deserve to have me ask you a question because like you'll demolish me.
No, I actually have a question for you though.
Please.
Do you think that people are ever ready to get married?
Let's see. This is what I like about these questions. This is anyone who says this is easy is like, well, this wouldn't be a question if this was easy. You know,
Word.
I I would say generally no, and I'll say why. And I like how you're opening up this whole discussion platform. And I am not here to be a cynic or anything or just downbeat or be negative. It's just so like take for instance, like I have a cousin recently got married. She's a nurse, uh, totally qualified, great science background.
No.
I think she was ready for marriage because not only did we get to see who her, soon to be partner was, but one of them was kind of a, let's just say he was a lovable giant teddy bear. And she was just more, just could be funny one minute and serious the next, and it was just a matter of just reading their body language, reading just how they absorb all this information and how organized they are with day-to-day life, everything from cooking to let's get ready for a party, let's get ready for work. So I think they were at that age again, in their 30s. Yes, I think they're ready. Now, generally, it does seem like there are many they want to get married as soon as, they hit puberty. And it seems like to answer your question, it does kind of get to that point where it's just their mind is racing, but they're never asking the magic question. Am I ready? Can I do this? Am I doing this just to show off?
Yeah.
Is our love
Bingo.
actually going to last? Am I going to be faithful? Are we marrying just because we're obsessed with each other, but not necessarily in love? So,
This
and I
is
think
lust or is it love?
I think this actually does mirror a lot of dating. I have been on a few unofficial dates. I've been at networking events. I even took some colleagues who were in the same area to a stand-up concert once upon a time. So unofficial dates, but it was just one of those, just like, I think it really does come down to a lot of the questions we're going to get into. How serious is it? And it doesn't seem like it's often is. Like
Yeah, I love that. And alongside like kind of having your shit together,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
should we bring kids into this situation? And like, is that
Oh,
required?
I'd wait 6 months to a year for that.
and or you've been in a few, you've had a fiance once upon a time, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, no, that's a very good point on the kids, Rena, because it seems like those are the ones who ultimately get hurt.
Yep.
And I kind of had enough experience because I had many friends who were divorced, and they would talk smack about one of the two parents. It's like, oh, mom, she's so ma, or my dad, I
He's
always
so da da da.
right. Anytime it's his day to watch me, I just go to my friend's house, and just come home for dinner. So it does seem like to have all that hostility built up, I think also accounts for a lot of the same kind of just distrust, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta be ready. You gotta be ready for it. I'm gonna be upfront. I've been married 8 years, and
Nice.
I went through dating hell, and my husband went through dating hell, and I watched my friends go through dating hell. And a joke that me and my husband have is that, obviously, I'm, as you might tell from my accent, I'm not from America. My husband is from
I
America.
don't
No,
judge.
really.
Yeah,
I
I know.
didn't know.
It's a subtle British accent. But we always joke we had to import because just we couldn't deal with the dating scene in our own country. And not that we actually met purely by accident. I was on vacation over in Washington, DC.
Now
Oh,
that
nice.
was definitely meant to be.
Yeah.
That travel was the best travel you ever
Yeah,
had.
Yeah, DC's an hour away from me.
Yeah, and he's
Yes,
just
you're
like,
Maryland.
I'm a very, I mean, I've got I've got a lot more outspoken since I became a podcaster because you need to be outspoken.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you know,
What
like
we do.
we're very much the perfect fit for like our different cultures. But oh my god, dating in England was horrendous. Oh god,
Because it's the
everyone,
same
yeah,
atmosphere versus somewhere else. Even though you have multiple accents and shit and different cultures, it's still the same dating pool with nothing new to
exactly.
offer. Yeah.
And we're not very outwardly emotional, so it's basically just two
Mm.
guys that's looking at each other going, meh, you know, and you're like, no.
It's almost like a job interview. It's like, how can I
Oh,
do better at the next one when you're giving me these white lies?
it is. It was just,
It's
oh,
like you're
dating,
not telling me
no.
how I could do better.
Oh no, I always joke that every time me and the Hubs have an argument, we get one of our single friends to come over and describe their last dating experience, and all of a sudden we're like, "Oh wow, this seems a lot better," you know.
For now.
For now, but
So
no,
for,
dating. No, couldn't imagine it. Couldn't imagine it now.
Do you have any like horror stories of like bad dates?
I
Well,
got one too.
the funny, my one, I actually was very lucky that I didn't go, I said I didn't go through a horrendous time. I had a guy that strung me on for about 6 months.
Oof.
And it was just like he didn't want to, there'd be no messaging, and then all of a sudden on like a Sunday he'd be like, hey, do you want to go get a drink? And it's because he was bored, you know, and he wanted someone to go into the club
I
with.
hate that.
And then and then he'd get in the club and all that.
and you've heard all the appropriate responses, so you're just like, yeah, he
Yeah,
just wants someone to be here. I'm basically
yeah.
almost
And
feel like an escort. I'm not.
it was
I'm not. Yeah,
it was
you
that.
don't want this person actually here. You just want to look important. It's
Yeah, it
every-
was.
Yeah.
that's why I never went to prom growing up. I would get.
You were the guy on the arm,
We'll
weren't
get to
you?
all our high school stories because it does play a part in our adult lives. But I would see so many people, they just wanted someone to go with. I'm like, but you don't even dance, or you guys
No.
can't even stand each other in class. So what
I
are
think
we
that was
doing?
the worst thing was, and also I had a lot of friends who knew that I mean, I was a late bloomer, and then, you know, I'd been out for a while, but then
Welcome to the club.
Yep.
I got into dating a bit when in my mid to late 20s, and I had a friend who was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is just normal like dating code stuff," and I was like, "No, it's not. This is what Sex in the City." I mean, I love Sex in the City. I'm not
Me
gonna
too.
lie it, yeah. But they're always like,
American tone.
"Yeah, what's the code? What's the code? You know, you can't contact for 3 days." I'm like, "No, that's so toxic now. You can't live by that." And I had no, and this guy would not
Don't
buzz me
try to
for like a couple of
predict.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you handle the sidewalk rule?
What was the sidewalk rule?
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
like, what's
god.
the sidewalk rule?
You don't know the sidewalk rule? Oh my god.
Oreo, you are like out Sex and the
It's
City,
on
all of
fire.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned about the sidewalk rule a few weeks ago. I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, okay. And then
So
my friend explained it.
it's where the
And
guy should walk on the outside if he's walking with a woman. Is that the
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I didn't know it
And
was
I'm
called that.
yeah.
we just thought he was being dumb.
No. I have my moments, but
But is that
sometimes I'm
like the
really
one
smart.
where you meant to, the man is meant to sleep closest to the door in the bedroom?
I never
Gotcha.
heard of that.
Me
the idea-
That's
either.
interesting.
No,
The
I
i-
haven't heard that.
well, the
I'd be a
idea is-
liar if I said I had.
The man is meant to sleep next to the door, but
The
then me-
closest to the door for
Yeah.
like protection.
yeah, that's that one.
Yeah.
But then, like me and my husband, obviously being shock horror to everyone who can hear my voice, two men. He sleeps on the left,
And this is
I
why
sleep
I
on the
love.
right.
This is 2024.
Yeah,
We don't have
Yeah,
any of
true.
this phobia.
So it
You
depends
know?
on like the room, but he has to sleep on the left, and I have to sleep on the right because God, if he slept on the right, he'd snore like a son of a bitch, and it's um. But no, there's all these stupid stuff, and I mean, I dated this guy for 6 months, and he was so toxic purely because I had friends going, "Well, this is the dating rule, and that's the dating rule." I'm like, no, he just was being a non-committal piece of
Shit.
expletive
And they're
shit
going off of
legged.
what they've heard in pop
Yeah,
culture, and you're like, that doesn't, no, that's, I'm talking real life. Real
and
life.
so when I talk to my mates now, my bestie, my co-host on Bitches With Beards, and he's now re-entered the dating scene, he'll come to me and he'll come to the hubs and he'll go, "What do you think of this?" And we will be blunt as anything with him. We are just like, oh, we're not too dismissive, and we do like to encourage, but at the same time, if he comes back with, "Well, this is so and so," I'm like, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like,
It's true.
it's not
It's about social cues.
it's not that hard to say to someone, "Hey, do you want to go for a happy hour?"
Do you
Let's
think
A
it also
happy
goes,
hour is still important.
yeah. Do you think it also, for either our two main guests here, do you think it also goes back to just kind of reading the room?
Oh, you
So
got to
like,
be able to read a room.
right, but I just rule number one, like if this person who let's say you're at a party, you're talking to
Yeah.
one of the strangers, if he or she is walking in the opposite direction, that's kind of your cue that it's nothing personal. They don't want to talk to you. You know, they're shy.
Yeah.
And my sister would sometimes do that to some friends. I'm like, okay, he or she has already avoided eye contact with you multiple times. They've already said not into music or movies, and you went ahead and just blabbed about them, superheroes and comic books. Danger, Will Robinson, bad. Don't cease the conversation. And then
Go to your
finally,
room.
yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not a boss, but it's just so funny. Then finally, the person is being over polite and saying, "I got to get a drink," which is their cue for "I want to leave this party."
Yeah.
And it's interesting. What have you noticed a lot, Rena, at the many social gatherings you've been at?
Well, I recently put on like a cocktail party. It was a 2-hour meetup, and I've been going to a lot of meetups in town because we just moved to Houston, and
You hustle,
I've
man. You
I've
hustle.
met like cool people at all these other meetups. I was like, hey, I could just like gather a few from each one I've gone to and then put on my own. So I did that. And what was interesting is people like knew each other. A lot of people knew each other from different events around town. So the conversation was like already starting. And some of the other events that I've gone to, like I've seen them do like an icebreaker. So I kind of like let people
Nice.
mingle. And then I like worked my way around the room and was kind of like, okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to go around and we're going to say like our favorite breakfast. And do you have a podcast, want a podcast, or do you want a guest on a podcast? But I
You're
kind
doing
of
real life
like,
topics now.
yeah, so I kind of like thanked them for coming, but then like let them intermingle because I didn't want to break up the magic that was happening. And
Yeah.
then like gave everybody a heads up that I want everybody to know each other and we can all be friends.
Right. That you're going, you will know everyone's name regardless of where we leave each other a business card, like
Yeah,
That's an amazing host.
I'm
Like,
glad you did that. That's cool.
it
yeah,
was really
that's so
cool.
cool to do. I said I'm really fortunate. My husband's a very outgoing upstate New Yorker, and
Oh,
he's the guy.
wow.
Yeah, oh yeah, trust me, as a British guy, even my parents are like, "Does he ever stop?" So, but he's the guy that goes into a party and he'll go to the drinks table and he'll see someone and go, "Hey friend, what's your name?" And he makes everyone feel welcome. I'm very lucky to have someone like him. But I do think that we've lost, like, even so I know this is about dating, but I'm going through a period now where I'm trying to friend date people.
Mhm.
Ooh,
So
I
I'm
like that term.
Friend
because
date.
yeah,
Nice.
because my husband's realized that I don't
Kill
have
two birds with one stone is what
yeah,
you're saying.
he's like basically saying you need to have friends. and
Yeah.
but it is hard to go into a party or any social situation and just walk up to people.
It is because
Because
it's intimidating as fuck. It's like, oh god, are they gonna shun me? Or are they gonna
yeah,
yell at me? Or are they gonna be like, oh hey, you're cool? And they're like, oh, go away.
but I don't get why it's so hard. And I do get why it's hard because I am more shy than I let
You're a
on.
homebody.
It's
I'm a
tough to
homebody.
have the crown placed on
Yeah.
your head this
Yeah,
outing.
but it's so weird because like the one thing also he says to me is like if I have a lot of people kind of come at me, he's always like, just be fortunate people want to talk to you and that
True.
that. So I always feel that if I go up to somebody at a party and I'm like, "Hi, my name's Max. How are you?" and they kind of like, you're like, "Well, are you? What? Why are you here? If someone, I'm not trying to have sex with you. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just wanting to say hi."
I want
And
to
I was
know
like,
who you are.
yeah, and I'm like,
Exactly.
that's so
Not an
harsh. And you think,
interrogation.
are people that
Mhm.
closed off now? They won't allow that at least
I
basic communication.
People are still stuck in COVID mode, and
They
it's really
are.
sad.
Yeah.
They
It's
Oh
are.
so
yeah.
sad.
No, that's a good point.
Uh, like
Yeah, it's
everything was
true.
good, and then COVID hit, and then everybody just stayed in COVID mode. And
Just
it's
practice at the grocery. Like literally start talking to
Yeah.
all the cashiers.
Yeah.
I
Like
did
that's
that
really
recently. Oh my God, two
I
moms
was
were
at the
amazing.
grocery
I will be
yesterday and
devastated
yeah.
if some of my favorite grocers leave.
I've made
'cause they've
friends
done it
because
so
there's a
long.
coffee shop like in the grocery. That guy is
Oh,
so proud of like his new concoctions of
Eh,
different things that he's tried, and I just wind him up. I'm
nice.
like, I play into it, but I enjoy it because he's so excited about, his samples of the day. I try every sample, whether I would ever buy it or not. And then I usually go
Nice.
back to like the drink I like.
Yeah,
wow.
because you're pleasing him and building him up and giving him good self-confidence. And then you go back to what you usually do, but then he knows that you respect his craft enough
Those are both
that
good points
yeah.
because most of the time when you're in customer service, you kind of have your invisible shield up because you're afraid of the inevitable person who's angry and
Mhm.
going to explode on you, and it's nothing personal, but they need someone to say, hey, why is my, just anything. Like I have friends who are in IT. They're always ready for the whole, you don't know what you're doing, insult.
Sir, I've
So,
worked here for 10 years.
right. So it's awesome that when you're coming up to these people, you're making their day and they may not even realize it because they're just,
He's
No,
like, I don't even drink coffee, but
yeah.
I
Oh,
get the
wow,
responses
that's
from people that
interesting.
like it. I'm like, that's freaking hysterical.
It's actually not uncommon. There's a lot of people who are like, okay, so my grandmother, bless her soul, she was a teacher, and much like her mother before her, who was also a wonderful person who I had the honor of also knowing, they both were made wonderful quiche.
Ooh,
that's
now
a
Never
great
we're
brunch. That's
talking.
a great brunch. That's such a
wonderful
go-to
food.
good brunch.
If
We
you're
need to
gonna
do
do
a food
spinach,
podcast sometime.
oh,
I
Oh,
make
you're
yes,
not,
quiche.
you
It's
do.
so good.
I come from quiche.
Yeah,
It's
quiche
so
My
is
good for
mom made
brunch.
quiche. My grandma made quiche too.
It's such a good
it's
brunch
an
because you put it in
underrated
and you serve it and
protein
you're
and
done.
everything. Yeah.
Hey, this is something that should be on like must-have lists, like need to know
Mhm.
or like
Yeah, definitely.
Get it.
Like
quiches.
if you know basic culinary arts, you can win a lot of people over easily. But some people don't even want to try for that or
Food for
anything
thought,
because it's too
literally.
much. Yeah. Like it's not that hard to make a small little culinary party. I look at all these cookbooks I've covered from different fandoms, and some of them have party ideas that are put together automatically. I'm like, dude, you can do a themed party. It's
You could
so
be a
easy.
party planner gig. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
it's
this is gonna
cheap.
blow your mind. So neither the grandparent ate quiche. Didn't like it. But you would never know that because of how buttered up and
Yeah.
well cooked, organized with the crust it was. But yes, they did have the party planner attitude. So I think that's what ultimately did them in. That's why, and that's just commitment. I think it goes beyond just like a celebrity. I want to make you laugh. I think it goes into, I want to put smiles on your face. I want to be able to live with myself knowing I've done something good. It's just this very rare selflessness. And I know you've been fortunate, Reena, to know people in the industry who want to get everyone coffee before they even ask, can I get a cup of coffee and all this other
That's
stuff.
how I got promoted at Nanny 911. Like
Isn't it interesting? It's the
I was
oldest
a
trick in the book.
post-production supervisor, but I was memorizing coffee orders. I'm like,
get
how do I
coffee.
keep this roll? How do I
Rena,
go
that's
from
exactly it.
night shift
Holy
to day
shit, dude.
shift is make the head editor that's in charge of all the other editors love me. I'm like, we need to get you your own coffee machine. I need to know how you like your coffee with your time card.
Rena, that's exactly it. Because
With overtime attached. Yeah.
I work in video production now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Nice.
I work. So I do video. I do media
Congrats.
production for an organization. Thank you. But I mean, I wish I could be more creative with it. But I love my job. But when I was in England, I was training up. I worked for a youth charity, and I used to train young people in media production.
Oh,
And the one
cool.
thing they would say to me is, "What can I do best when I get on a film set?" And I
What
said,
can I
"Learn
do better?"
how the director likes his cup of tea."
100%.
And I said, when he's looking stressed, when the director's looking stressed, and you walk up with the tea, how they, because obviously British, the rumors are true.
He's already trying to get the various personas to
Yeah.
behave and make the
Yeah.
studio
Mhm.
happy, be on budget.
And the rumors are true. The British, we need our tea. And I said, if you can learn to make that, and you go up to the director and go, I made you a cup of tea.
How can you have any pudding if you don't drink the
I
tea?
can attest to that.
It's
My girl
done.
needs her tea too.
Yeah, but just do it. Just learn how to make, like, if you're gonna get into anything, learn how to make that drink. But
Wow.
it's even
Yep.
down to the point when I first was like dating my husband. Like, I was out here, we were here for Halloween. I had a very heavy night, and bless his heart, he tried to make me a cup of tea using the coffee maker, and it was the worst cup of tea he's ever made in his life. But but he was so full of love that I was like, I think I can marry you. Right. This, you know, when you said earlier, when do you know if you're ready to be married? I'm like, when your husband's trying to boil tea in a coffee maker, and it's
Oh,
so
love it.
disgusting, but it's full of love, and you're like going, ugh.
thanks, but that's not how this works.
I have a good embarrassing story. I mean, I've made my husband like really bad, like instant chies too, like when he came to my apartment in the beginning. But like,
Reena, you embarrassed someone? What?
oh my God, when I was single, I truthfully like ordered a lot of prepared food. Like, I definitely was just going to Trader Joe's and picking up like an egg salad and like
I
a
love
wrap.
that
You know what I
place.
mean?
But I
And
Nice.
so when I got married, I did not know how to cook. I am not gonna lie. I literally bought out so much. And so I went to this
Wow.
like fruit stand and vegetable market, like, you know, an outdoor market. And I picked up all these vegetables and, you know, fresh fish, or I don't know. And I just threw it all in together and all the spices. And I just came out with a huge smile on my face, and I knew nothing. And he was just, it was a guessing game. He was like, chicken? I'm like, no. He's like, fish?
Forget
I'm
to
like,
use that on me.
Am I going to be allergic to this?
but he ate
Oh.
it. I was like, okay, this guy's the keeper. I'm like, he's got good home training. You know what I mean? I never made it again because I could tell it wasn't good. But
Have you? I have to ask. Have you learned to cook since then, or have you not? Have you just like, this is not my part of this lifestyle?
that's a great
Oh,
question. I don't get too adventurous, but like my aunt, when we lived in Kentucky for a couple of years, she's very into cooking. So she taught me how to make some like key items. I
nice.
actually can make a really good meatloaf. I learned
Ooh.
quiche.
Nice.
What else? I can bake bread. I make my
Wow.
yeah, I've
That's
learned
actually
how to
harder
do
than
that
people
really
think it
well.
is.
Damn, that's marriage material right there. Shit.
But like, I
Reena,
buy
you
dessert
have-
unless it's pie. Like,
you
I make
picked
a really
everyone's
good pumpkin
brains.
pie from
Ooh,
scratch.
that's good. You should.
Ye-
Irina, you're welcome over. Everyone here is welcome over.
Anyone
obviously.
else I know would go, I'm jealous. I'm not a jealous guy. That I'm impressed. That's
Salmon,
Yes.
I've gotten better at that. I did
Ooh.
learn like little key tricks, like you always need to soak salmon in lemon, otherwise it tastes super fishy. And then with chicken,
yes.
you know, you got to pull the skin back, you got to wash it really good. You put the
Mhm.
spice under the skin, the
Add the
oil under the
flavor.
skin.
Yep.
Then
Yeah.
yeah, there's like little tricks. So
You
I've gotten
gotta
better. I
stab the
wouldn't
shit
say I'm
out of
a
it.
pro.
Rena, can I ask, if we're talking about dating, how long did you date your husband for before you married him? And
Yeah,
what was your
that's a
dating-
great
What was your
question.
Yeah.
dating life like before?
Okay, so this is a little crazy. I was actually engaged prior to my husband, and
Plot twist.
Oh my God, scandal.
All right.
big
let it go.
scandal. And we met on the Jerry Springer show.
What?
And-
Wait,
No!
no! Wait, you what?
Out of
And
all
he
the
was my
stuff I've heard you
boss.
talk,
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about Wilco's and all these other people. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did get
mention you
promoted
had a producer
before I got
husband,
my
but-
office, but you know.
Well,
did
you were
say he had a
working on it. You
producer
weren't
husband.
on it though. You
I
you
didn't
weren't
realize he
like,
was actually on Springer. I thought he was just a producer. Wow.
Yeah, we were
Wow,
both
this is
producers on the
fun.
show.
oh no. So I thought that I kind of had a vision of you like throwing a chair at him and going, "You're the father. Oh, I love you. I've met you." Like, so,
that would have been awesome. That would have been, yeah, apropos. But yeah, so I broke up with him and then took like a super long break. Like
Good.
quit smoking, got into yoga, took a job at
Nice.
Nanny
Whoa.
911, like worked third shift, and then got on J Date.
Whoa. Man.
Yes. And so he was like a grad student at Berkeley. We came from like, I don't know. I mean, we had stuff in common, but truthfully, I just thought he was like another Jew from the South and I liked his hat. So he was wearing like a fedora. I thought it was a cowboy hat. I was like, all right. So he came down from the Bay Area, which is like a 6-hour drive, and we met on Venice Beach.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then my cousin, who was like super protective of me, like blocked my car in on Venice Beach after our like 12-hour date. He was like, "You're crashing here," and he's out. Yeah. And so we ended up getting engaged like 4 months later, and then we got
damn.
married 4 months after that. We never lived in the same city, and I feel like we didn't even really know each other.
So
Wow.
me and you, we never had the same experience then.
Do you think it's just the environment was distracting from what you guys were actually seeing in each other?
I think that he was 32 and I was 26, and we had both like stood on our own 2 feet and kind of knew what we wanted. He also had been engaged before. And I
Mm.
think all of that, like yoga and
Wow.
not dating and taking a year and a half off from
Man.
sex, is like super, it makes you very clear in what you want.
I got everybody beat on that shit.
But
It's
yeah,
true. I mean, no, that's so cool that there was this coincidence. That, like you both
Mm.
yeah, me and my
are
husband had never lived
engaged.
in the same country. That when we got married, like we'd met. I was on vacation. We really liked each other. We stayed in contact, and did 2 months off and 1 week on, and 2 months off and 1 week off, and 6 months in, he surprised me and came over and proposed in front of a shit ton of people.
Now you know they're serious.
Aw.
Now, how do you feel about public proposals?
I got a public proposal too.
Oh,
How'd you
this one
feel
was
about that?
nuts. What was your one like, Reena? You go
It was in front
first.
of my grandparents, my best friends from growing up. It was like Rosh Hashanah lunch at my grandmother's house. And it was funny because my cousin like brought home her boyfriend and they had been together for like years. And so my husband like went up to that guy. He was like, "Are you gonna do it?" And he was like, "No." And he's like, "All right." So he stood up and it was like,
That answers that.
So were you pre-engaged or were you just not ready? You didn't know that was coming.
I didn't 100% know it was coming, although we had looked at rings.
Yeah.
So
So you were kind of pre-semi-engaged.
kind of we were talking about it, but
Yeah.
I didn't know
You
it was
were
coming.
like, it's now or
Yeah.
never. I'm not waiting.
But that was cool.
So my one was like we'd met in the October and he came over for the Christmas in England. Like, and my parents were completely shocked because they knew I'd been out for a while, but they'd never met a boyfriend because I'd never really had one. And like they were like met this guy and he was like they were kind of like really liked him, and then we'd done a couple of bumps on and off, and then I knew something was coming because we discussed it because we wanted to live together. Marriage was the only way we needed to go forward with it. So come the June, and it was Pride Month in England. Oh, it's Pride Month over
Nice.
here as well. And I was volunteering for a LGBT switchboard hotline, and he'd been involved in like the husband had been involved in like the people I was working with. And so just before the day before Pride, they were going to do a big gala because they were like, well, it's our 40th anniversary. We're going to rebrand, blah, 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 blah. So the husband he couldn't come over for it. And he was like, well, I'm going to go to Toronto actually, because that's where there's a Pride that weekend. I feel bad. I'm missing your thing, blah, and all that. So I go to this event and it's at the Hilton on Shaftesbury Avenue and it's a really nice event, and they're like, hey, I was a bit pissed off because I was trying to buzz my husband, right, my then boyfriend, and saying, hey, I'm look at me in my suit, and he was ignoring my phone calls. I'm like, I don't know why he's been a dick, all this sort of thing. And
You're tired of waiting for his answer because you know it's not going to be acceptable either way.
Yeah, I was just
Hmm.
like I'm trying to be excited. And he's like, being, I can't talk right now and all this and all that. So we go to this event and they go, hey, you're Max. Hey, do you want to, like, can we give you like this like name tag because we might need you at the front because because we want to get some photos and do you like consent to your photo being taken for publicity? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure. So I go in, we're having a nice time, go to the front. And it's a huge room. There's like 500 people there.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
And yeah, and I'm glad you're all guessing that no one's going, what's going to happen next? You know,
Like,
um,
no, not
a-
500.
and we're standing there, and then
Why did
all
it
of a
have to
sudden,
be an odd number?
yeah, and they're like going to
Even
me,
technically, but whatever.
but but we're kind of like, 'cause I'm standing there and we're having a drink, and they go, okay, the program's about to start, but before we begin, we've got a special guest coming over from America, and he has a very special announcement to make. And they start playing our song, and I'm like, well, this song's very but it's a known song, but it's not a known song. I'm like, well, I don't know, but this is mine and Jamie's song. So, and then all of a sudden, my then boyfriend walks out on stage, sings, pulls me up on stage.
Oh.
And then when in during the immigration interview, they're like, "What were you thinking?" I'm like, "Where do I put my beer?" Because I had actually a Heineken in my hand, and I was there trying to walk down the stairs like this, like Matrix style, trying to put the beer down on the stairs because knew that I was going to get
It was a
proposed
pop
to,
culture.
but without like actually having a beer. And he proposed. It was very sweet, and it turns out my parents were standing right behind me, and I was like it was so American, but. I knew there and then, but it was 6 months in, and like I know that if we have kids, I would say to them straight away, never get engaged within 6 months, never ever marry someone and go to a strange land within 15 months. Like
I
I
agree.
broke all the
Strangers in a
rules,
strange land.
Yeah.
but it worked, but I broke all the rules that I'd ever give any kids of mine, and my parents were like, the week before we're saying we were having a drink, and my parents were like, what do you think of JB? And they're like, oh my God, you were pre-interviewing me about the engagement. Like,
Yeah, I did the same thing with mine. I proposed 6 months in, and everything was right. She felt so right, but we were too young, and
yeah.
it was our first actual relationship.
Can I ask how old you were?
We were both 20. I was 24, she was 23.
Mm.
And we hit it off. Like, we talked on Plenty of
Yes.
Fish, and then she drove an hour to come see me after our conversation that same night. And it clicked at the beginning. And then 6 months in, I was like, I'm proposing. And I did it in a photo shoot at Sears. And everything was just so magic. And I made it magic. And retrospectively, like, I knew we weren't ready. I did it because I thought I was ready, and I was proving a point, and I shouldn't have proved a point. But in the end,
Make
I
an
learned
ass
the
out of
lessons.
me.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful photo shoot, and everything fell together. And then she ended up cheating on me, and it was just a bad situation because of her mental illnesses and shit. And it really hurt. But take the illnesses away, and she was a good fucking woman. So good. But retrospectively, very naive too. We were both naive. But, I don't regret dating her. She was a lesson for me, for both of us. And I tried to make amends years later, and she didn't want to hear it. And I was like, all right, fine. Just trying.
Can I ask why you said you were making amends?
Because I have done a lot of dumb, ignorant shit in my life. I have said some horrible fucking things to people. And I am doing better in healing myself because I've got PTSD, CPTSD, and autism and ADHD. And I've been through so much harsh shit that it made me realize that I need to do better by people. And I have apologized to so many people for what I've said or done. The one thing I did recently was apologize to I apologized to a friend of mine that showed up at the gym this past weekend. I hadn't seen her in a couple months, and the last time we talked, she compartmentalized me to texting. And that was because I was aggressive about wanting to have sex with her and shit. And she said we could have a play date, but then she just rejected me altogether. And I was like, oh, fuck you, whatever. And then I saw her, I was like, I got to apologize to you. And she's like, why? I don't even remember what you did. And she's like, should I just say I accept your apology and move on, or do you gotta explain? I was like, I'll explain. And I told her, I was aggressive about wanting sex with you, and I shouldn't have been aggressive. And I'm sorry for that. And she's like, I accept that and I appreciate that a whole lot. And it's amazing how so many people appreciate that. I did the same thing to another friend of mine, but it wasn't over sex. It was over a mutual friend of ours that died from anaphylactic shock. And
jeez.
yeah, oh my God, that dude was like a second father to me. He was so goddamn good. He loved his son so much. Every time we got done at the bar, he's like, let me tell you about my boy Brad. Every fucking night we were at the bar, before and after. Let me tell you about my boy Brad. He loved that boy with all his heart. And he was dating two different women. He was dating Carol, and then they broke up, and then he was dating Mai. When he was with Mai, he died. And I looked at her, and the first thing out of my mouth back then, this was 2011, I was like, oh God, I wonder how Carol feels. And I was like, oh, you fucking idiot. And then I ran into
It
her
took it
years.
happening to you for you to put it
Yeah.
together. See, that's how
Yeah.
harsh you were being.
I know, because the look on her face, it didn't register back then for me. I was like, why is she just giving me a blank look? What about Carol? And then I saw her in Walmart years later, actually this past year, or it might have been last year, and I told her, I was like, I got to apologize to you. And she's like, what for? Because she was taken aback by that. And I was like, when Paul died, I told you that, I was worried about how Carol felt, and I didn't think about your feelings at that time because it didn't register. And she's like, oh, well, that's okay, but I appreciate that. And, apologizing and making amends with people feels good because more weight comes off of me.
Those
And I feel,
anvils don't weigh down on you.
for real, like I'm not, like my anxiety is pretty much non-existent. I don't have the urge to pick at my scabs as much as I used to. I don't punch my head anymore. I don't get upset. I don't even get fucking angry anymore like I used to. Sometimes I get set off, but not as badly. But looking back at everything bad I've done and everything shitty, it was a life lesson. And losing key people in my life, I lost my best friend in 2013 to an overdose. That broke me. It did. Like me and Crystal were cancer twins, peas in a pod, got along, didn't even need to say words to each other. That's how organic we were. We just meshed so fucking well. And yeah, gosh, she was so fucking amazing. And it took me a long time to heal from her. I didn't go to her grave till last year, full decade after her death. And I remember I forced myself to watch her go in the ground because I needed to have that finality. I needed to know, she's dead, she's gone. And at first it clicked and then it didn't click. And for so long, it hurt. And it was, there were nights I was on the floor bawling my eyes out over her because she was gone and I didn't have her anymore. And then it took so long to heal from that. And I lost relatives along the way, but they didn't hurt as much. But hers was the catalyst point for me that really broke me. And healing from being broken really puts everything in perspective. And then when I went to her grave last year on our birthday, because we never spent a birthday together, I hated that we spent it this way because, you know, she's dead, I'm still alive. And
Hmm.
I understood why she OD'd. I understand. Like, I have a great perspective on why people commit suicide. Hers was an accidental overdose, but I understand why people do suicide. And it's rough to understand that because if you are so closed minded, you don't get it. You'll never fully understand it unless you have someone that you lose that goes by suicide or just dies of an overdose or whatever. And you have to understand from outside perspectives what it is for them in their mind.
Locking yourself in a room and
Yeah,
venting doesn't
Mm.
do
it
it.
doesn't work. I'm so grateful I have YouTube because one, I get a lot of people coming in left and right giving me feedback, but also it's helped me when I do my about me vids because if I'm having a problem, I do a vid on it and confront the issue versus letting it fester. And confronting all these different issues I've had has helped me so much. And then I had to go through so much introspection, retrospection, and tracing everything back to key sources. And that's fun. You learn so much about yourself as you're older. And the thing that really pisses me off, and it's so stupid, is that I know so much now, and I hate that I can't go back and tell my younger self, hey, this is what we're not supposed to fucking do. And it irks me every day. Like, I learned something new, and it's like, fuck, I wish I knew that back then. But my favorite,
That's why you
you,
shouldn't date too long.
I
Yeah.
That's a
honestly,
good point. Yeah.
yeah, my longest relationship, my ex fiance was 23 months. And then I'm me and Bella were currently deep friends. We were dating for a long time, but I've known her since 2019 and we met on Twitter. And it's wild that we met on Twitter because I never thought I'd find somebody like that. And we hit it off, fast friends, deep relationship, and then the long distance got to her. And it really ruined the relationship. And she's like, you know, you should find, and she's in New Zealand, by the way. So the time difference is a pain in the ass. So I'm up at like 2 and 3 in the morning waiting to talk to her because she's doing school and stuff. And she is such a phenomenal woman, one of the best. And I'm grateful that when I was younger, I said, I hope I find a woman that when we break up, she's a good ex. And Bella is a good fucking ex because I never understood that premise. I'm like, why the hell are you friends with your fucking ex? They're an ex for a reason. And I learned, oh, they actually have benefits. And it's not the sex, ain't the sex. It's their it's how they carry themselves and how they treat you and how whether or not they want to stay in your life or not. And stopping at Bella and going back to 2002 when I was in high school, I was a sophomore. Yeah, sophomore.
Man.
Yeah. People were like, you're so young. Like, yeah, no, it's a lot with like alcohol and smoking and shit. That's been trauma, thanks. 2002, a girl walked past me and shit clicked. And she became my crush. And I saw her walk by me. I'm like, damn, and my heart skipped a beat that day. I still remember that shit. Total cliche 90s romance, right? It's fun. And I said to myself, like, I hope I see her again. And a few days later, ran into her again. And I was in BEST. It was a behavioral program in my high school for everybody that had behavioral problems and shit. I was in there because I got arrested the year previous for indecent exposure in high school.
Wow.
My ex friend Doug dared me to hump a tree with my dick and balls out. And I was like, fuck it. it, I'll do it. And I did it in front of
Yeah,
the
we get a little
school.
blunt here, guys. Just a warning
Yeah.
here. But
No, for real. But yeah, going back to this girl, Jess Brown, love this woman so much. And she came into the room, and I was sitting at the computer doing my work, and she talked to me. Now, to put it in perspective, I was shy as fuck back then, and I didn't talk to barely anybody. I mean, I talked like surface. There's levels of talking. We all have levels of talking. There's your surface talk where you're like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, bye, bye." Literally, and then you have your sub levels, your medium levels, your high levels, and shit. And she engaged me in conversation, and she was one of the popular ones in school. And I never. It
Man.
still blows my mind to this day that she talked to me. And she showed me what was in her purse. She said she was spoiled, and she had her Nextel cell phone. This Nextel chirp was the shit back then. Annoying as hell and garbled, but funny. But
Man.
yeah, and I remember I looked at her so many times while she was working, and she would sniff her hair to think. She'd be tapping her hand. She had on her white shirt, black skirt, shoes, and she was just so beautiful. And I got so hooked on her. And I'd actually worked up courage to ask her out. And I saw it as, this is me being dumb back then, I saw it as, me and her will be a power couple. And I didn't know
Just
shit
like
about
on the
dating.
tabloids.
Yeah, like we're going to be a power couple. We'll be the best thing ever. And she told Mr. Schrader, our counselor, she'd gotten back with her boyfriend. And my heart broke. I was like, fuck. And I was so depressed over that. But my love for her didn't quit. And at that same year, Attack of the Clones had come out. So I had written a Star Wars story about me and her. And I'm not ashamed to admit that shit. Like, that story, that whole saga has all of my personal issues that I've dealt with. And through writing that, I have conquered every single one of them. And I'm still working on them. Every so often, shit'll pop up that I need to work on with that. I wrote her poems. I wrote like 18 or 20 poems for her. And it pissed off one of her exes. Like,
Jeez.
he was going to beat my ass at the bar the one night. Like, you wrote 30, 40 poems. I'm like, yeah, what you going to do? And he did go to make a move at the bar the one night to beat my ass. And one of my friends at the time actually stood in his way twice and stopped him from doing it. And
This is like a Jerry Springer saga right
There
here.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Mine
all
is
comes
the
around
fucking-
to we got to
I would have had
mine's-
you read that poetry and then brought the boyfriend out.
Nah, for real. Like, I wrote her so many beautiful pieces. And
And then she would have had to pick.
yeah, but what's sad is that to this day, she doesn't know what she's done for me. Like, because of her,
She will now.
yeah.
I
not as
told
public.
I told her 2 years ago.
Bring her out.
I told her 2 years ago in an Instagram message and post, and she blocked me. And that
Oh,
hurt
jeez.
too.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, I'll
like,
send her this episode and tag her. Just tell me your name. No.
oh,
Wow.
good luck with that. She's a hard ass. Like, she goes by my house every day.
But
because she takes
did
it.
you like create something in your mind though that like wasn't real, right? Like we
Yeah,
do
like,
that when we're
I did
young.
that. I got hooked on her and then the character, and then they were intertwined. And then I got older, and I'm like, oh fuck. I fell in love with the character versus her.
And that's what
But-
happens with online romance too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that should go too long. Like,
A
you know, you
parasocial
guys are into what
relationship.
each other look like and then meet in person. And like, I think I've even like carried on some of those situations like way too long where I like
You
made
know
them
if this
something
is
that they
going
weren't.
downhill.
And then you meet them once and you're like, what? the hell was I
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah, because as I'm older, I'm like,
That's bad.
she's not who she really is,
There
and
you
I
go.
understand that now. And what kills me is she goes by my house every day because she takes her kids up to practice for sports and stuff, and she just blatantly ignores me. I wave at her, she just ignores me. I'm like, all
You're
right,
like, where's
fine.
that white shirt and black skirt I was thinking about?
Yeah, but I don't really think about that. Like, because of her talking to me, I was able to have an amazing writing talent come forth. I have been able to talk to women, which is amazing because back then I didn't know how to fucking do it. Now I do. And I'm still learning because there's so many things that I keep learning, and it's amazing to learn all this shit. And she gave me good self-confidence. And for being someone with autism, like, fuck, having self-confidence and being able to talk to somebody, especially if it's in a romantic way or trying to get romance, is challenging in itself because you don't know whether you're going to get rejected or if it's going to go forward or if they're just going to be boring as fuck
Mhm.
or if they accuse you of wanting sex. I hate that. That pisses me off. And there's one line that I will absolutely I will gatekeep this shit till I die. And I fucking hate it. And it is, I wish I could find someone just like you.
Oh,
I hate,
jeez.
I hate that shit.
Mhm.
Like, you're a good friend. I wish I could find someone just like you. There's no one just like me, bitch. I'm sitting right here. You'll find facsimiles in life, but you will never get the original.
Yes.
And it pisses me off. I hate that line so much because that destroys everything going forward. Any
Or I
other
think we're
intention.
better off as friends. That's tough
Yeah.
too.
Oh, I hate that. I'm like, I get friends.
Oh, I
I
don't do
understand that.
friends. I don't do the friend zone thing.
Yeah,
I'm always like a step
no.
away.
It's either a
I'm
yes
like,
or a no.
I'm
Yeah.
It's
like,
true,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna wait. I don't get 2 hours extra in my day just so I can like go on a happy hour with a friend who I know won't like me. You know, I'm not gonna deal with
No.
that.
It's about reciprocating. If you can't reciprocate, fuck off. Plain and simple. If you
What?
don't mesh with me, if you don't vibe, it's all about the organic vibe that you get with somebody. If it's organic, it's gonna last. It's gonna work in some way, shape, or form, whether it's to your benefit or theirs.
But I've been on dates where like we've chatted online. We've been on. So I started. Honest. I'm 39, so I started online dating when you had to use a desktop, and I
Yeah.
remember when it came about, you could use the phone, but
A
I remember
phone. Do tell,
the
yeah.
the phone. Yes, yeah, I was on like
Rotary phone.
the rotary. I actually do remember my parents had a rotary phone.
Yay!
And I still love the sound of them. But no,
I know.
I remember going to my like a day, and I was chatting to a guy on Tinder, and he was really cool. And we were talking a lot about musical theatre. I know, oh my god, homosexuals talking about musical theatre. But we were getting on so well, and then we went on this date, and I don't
Boring.
know, the second we looked at each other, have you ever been on these dates where you're like the energy just went, and
I
I don't know what it was, and we went. He goes hi, and I went hi, and
oh no.
yeah, and it was
I
so stupid,
I
and yeah, and we
I
went to
had
we went to his pub, and I bought the first round because it's like you buy in England, you buy like one round and you buy the second round. And then the question is the date going to go
Yes.
on longer?
mhm.
Are you going to buy who are you both going to go to that? Okay, if we go to the third round, is this suggesting it's going to be something more? No, actually, that's it. He bought the first round and I went to buy the second. And while I was waiting for this to get served, I checked my phone and my mum had emailed me, and I buzzed my mum back and went, "Hey, mum, why do you know I'm on a date?" And she went, "Your mother knows everything. And if it was a good day, you would not be on your phone checking your emails. You kiss too many frogs." And I was like, whoa.
Eh,
Damn.
damn.
Thanks,
But yeah,
Mom.
yeah, but also I do call my husband my prince because of that line.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm like,
sweet.
but yeah, but it was such a bad day. I mean, and then literally we got to 2 drinks in, and I was like, I said, I was like, oh, Lord, I got an early start. And he goes, great. And it turned out we lived down the same road, so we had to walk home together.
Awkward.
And then I had to hide in. I'm gonna go in. I was in my building, and I went in and I hid around a corner. I
Eh,
watched him go because there was like a fried chicken place nearby that I was like, oh, I'm gonna get some fried chicken in a bit. I'm gonna have
nice.
a bit. And the next 2 hours were the best 2 hours of that night. But no, like that was like the worst date where you're sitting there and you're kind of going for some reason. And this is big evidence that like online doesn't always work because we were
Yep.
so like compatible online, and we met in real life and we're like, no, this isn't.
Yeah, my worst date was a one night stand. This bitch. She invited me over because she didn't want to be alone. Because she wasn't.
jeez.
I know.
That's
Classic
already a
shit.
red flag.
I know. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
all
never.
right.
That's a no. That's a no.
Because I'm nice. I'm a nice guy. I'm extremely nice. And I'm like, all right, I'll stay the night because you're scared and shit. And we watch, and going back to Sex in the City, we were watching some of that.
Wow.
And I know it's fun. I love that series. I need to rewatch it. It's so good. We were watching that, made out for a while, and started to get hot and heavy. And she, that's so sad. She literally went down on me, up, down, up. I'm tired.
Wow. I didn't know we were getting pretty graphic here, but okay.
I didn't even. I'm like, what? Okay. I'm like, all right, fine. So we go to bed. I wake up, want to have a little fun, and she's waking and baking with Dawson's Creek.
That sounds like an
And
ideal date for me, actually.
You're determining the date based on the TV program.
Or just like getting stoned watching Dawson's Creek. I'm up for that.
but
Maybe this should be like a pre-qualifier question.
for
I
real,
guess so, yeah.
like,
Are you a TV person or not at all? Yeah.
What are you
Get
watching
stoned.
in the morning after?
for real. Like,
The morning
so
after.
I'm in the mood and shit, and she's like, "Yeah, that's nice, but I'm watching Dawson's Creek." And I'm like, and that hurt. That really hurt my fucking feelings. I'm like, and I didn't let her know. I went downstairs and I just stood. I went outside, had a cigarette, and cried because I'm like, wow, she doesn't want me at all. She'd rather watch a fucking show and get high. And that hurt. And
Yes.
then, yeah, that really killed my self esteem for a long time. And
I mean, what do you think marriage is going to be like?
oh, Christ. That's
Yeah.
why I'm not for marriage. I'm really not. Like, the only way I'll ever get
It's a good
married is
segue.
it. Yeah, if the only way I'll ever say I do is if she proposes. If any woman proposes to me, I'll say I do. That's the only way I will ever
Put your contact information in the show notes.
for real. Like, good
But-
luck
Please.
trying.
I had a 40-year-old virgin on my show, and he got
Oh,
4
wow.
responses, but he was super picky. No wonder he was still a virgin.
Yeah.
I actually got him
Wow.
potential people that were like willing to
You
go on a
did
date
play
with him
matchmaker
after
on
he
this.
told his
Wow.
story. I was like, hell, I would
Wow.
feel good about myself if I made somebody a match through my podcast. I was like, maybe I should try that.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna get you on. I've got some mates that I need them with people. No, I
Hey,
think
I'm willing
I
to give
need-
people a shot. You know, tell your story, talk about what you're looking for. And if there's somebody in my audience that connects to you and likes your laundry list of expectations, by all means.
I mean,
I need
all
that
means.
actually
Not my
because man,
my
it's-
husband is not my expectation whatsoever. My life is never what I thought it'd be. But
I love
it's
that.
always,
I'm
and it's always the
really-
opposite effect.
No, but I'm just like, even now he's outside, he's singing a lot, he's cooking. I told him he's gonna cook dinner tonight. But also because I know that I'm unbelievably lucky with a man like this because we are just the right people for each other, and
Mhm.
it's hard and it's not easy. Like, so he's
Because it
involved.
takes work.
It takes work. It takes people to realize they're in the same place. Like, he's involved in local politics. He had an interesting day, and the first thing I buzzed in was like, "Do you want to go get a happy hour?"
There you go. That's the
But
spirit.
but just saying to him, "Do you want to? Would you like to go get a happy hour? And do you want to tell me what happened?" And he went, "I actually really would like that." And then at the end of it,
Oh,
I'm saying to him, "I've got to go do a podcast. Would you honestly mind cooking dinner tonight?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." I can hear him singing outside, and he's like, "But it is about a lot, and you're gonna always feel at times shit and at times really good about yourself."
yeah.
But I like, me and my husband are very lucky that we met each other, because we're from two sides, we're from two different countries, and even
Yeah.
though that, like, we're both obviously, like, American and England is not the biggest difference, but
At
we're
least the
very,
time zone ain't that bad.
yeah. And I'm just so lucky to have him, but I also do know that it is shockingly bad to date people at the moment. And
Mhm.
I live in Washington DC. My bestie, who Daniel, who could not be here on the pod on tonight, my podcast host, is just in a perpetual. He's just not doing well dating, because DC's a very gay city. Like, it's a lot of young.
That's wild.
Yeah,
We
it's a
should
I
totally
didn't know
do a
that.
poll on like which ones are more inclusive. Obviously, if it's a more backwards, less progressive state, that's gonna, impact.
Yeah, for
but
real.
DC's gay to the level of, like, you go to other cities and you forget that men aren't gay. Like, it's
That's
everyone
cool.
it's everyone we meet is just like homosexual. But also the issue of that is that he goes on dates, and he's like my best mate, and I think he's just the most awesome guy going, but he cannot meet people because
Does he
there's a
Mm.
have
bit.
high expectations?
A little bit. But also it's just, but I
That'll
think that,
explain
but
it.
there's such a level of, well, there's something better going to come along. I don't want to settle for this. If I date this, I'm settling for this. I'm like, just why don't the people just go on like dates and get to know each other?
Yeah, like speed
And,
dating.
well, it's not even speed dating, but do you know what? If you go on a date with someone, you're not signing a contract.
True, it's
Right?
just a
Just go
one.
for 3 days, or 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Get to know each other. But
Just
exactly.
to say you did it
did it,
rather
Yeah.
but
than
just like, I barely commit to my husband's. You're like, it's not hard. It's just like, and I think when I was when tonight, I was asked to talk about dating. I felt bad because I was like, I'm 8 years into a marriage, but at the same time, as I watch people and go, oh my god, just my advice of dating is chill out.
Yeah,
Just go.
literally.
I love
That's
it.
what.
Don't expect shit. Because I
Don't be
used to.
fake.
Don't
You
Yes,
hate it
just
when
get a
you're
that.
lied
drink.
to, so why
Get a
I've
drink.
noticed this with certain actors that have been around. Like you can tell if they're gonna goof around if they're still acting.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
minute those cameras just turn off, and it's like
Yeah,
I want
Pods
to talk to
Like
the real
Us
you.
was talking about that today with Kate Winslet's interview.
I'm
Yeah.
not I don't know about that. What's up?
She was in an interview with I forget, I don't know who the girl was, but it was her first time doing an interview with anybody. And Kate told her that, okay, so we're gonna do this and we'll just go through it bit by bit and make it the best interview ever. And it turned out to be the best interview ever for her.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was awesome. But
But
yeah,
just
dating
chill.
sucks
It
sometimes.
does suck.
Because people need to let go of expectations. I used to be so
It's almost like these
massage.
interviews we've all organized. This is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when
Uh,
I when Oru came up with this concept, when Rena and Max both agreed to this, I was just like, yeah, the idea is to have an open discussion. It's not to, but we're going to approach it just like any interview where we're not
mhm.
going to just say, and this is where it's going. Well, if you want it staged, Sure, you can say that beforehand before we record, but no, we want raw answers. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to say, and now we're structuring it this way.
Yeah, that's true. Because when you segue from one thing to another, it makes it difficult for some people to understand. But when you go into the dating scene itself, like you can't really have expectations, especially your subconscious ones. And people will swear up and down they don't have them, but they really do. And if you like, I have had, when I do dating, I used to be very pretentious about the shit.
You were
And
pretentious? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
yeah, I was. I was very pretentious. I was very
But you're
particular.
honest.
Yeah, I'm always bluntly honest, and people they're like, "You're too fucking offensive." I'm like, "No, I'm telling the truth." And I have no expectations with dating because I know that everybody comes and goes for different reasons. And going back to losing my bestie, I learned that day you can't save them all. And another thing I learned is that sometimes you might be coming across somebody and you might be interrupting their karma that they're going through.
Mm.
And one thing, like I've given anybody a chance at dating. I have given numerous people chances at dating me. I've even dealt with a racist bitch at one point
Oh,
who didn't.
dear.
Oh yeah, definitely. Call me a fucking scammer nigger. I'm like, yeah, because I wouldn't tell her my real name. I'm like, I go
He
by
is
Oreo.
mixed, just for the record, guys. But yeah.
No, no, like I go by Oreo because I prefer that. I don't like my birth name because I have dealt with so much narcissism with a narcissistic sociopath who gaslights in my mother, and I cannot stand her, and she's literally ruined my birth name for me, so I don't go by that no more. And this chick got so pissed about that. She's like, "Oh, I'm talking to a scammer nigger." I'm like, "Okay, then bye." And I blocked her. I saved what she said and posted that shit. And one black woman on Twitter commented, she's like, "Yeah, I give everybody a fair chance too, but wow." I was like, "Yeah, I'm fair about shit. It's all in how you present yourself. If you come off, it's also what energy you put out too. And I've learned that
Mhm.
going forward. You know, if you put out bad energy, that's what you're going to get. If you put out good energy, that's what you're going to
It
get.
kind of goes back to the customer service thing that we were talking about
Yes.
earlier. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if you wouldn't be your best if you have just been called every insult in the book.
Yeah, for
It's
real.
just not. I don't
Like,
know
you
anyone who's
asshole, you don't
programmed that.
know anything. Like, I still work
You
here.
really do get your way if you're nicer, though.
Yeah.
My battery actually died this week on Mother's Day, and
I'm
Oh, I thought
sorry.
your
we
phone-
were
you meant your
we were a
phone.
little upset about it because it was under warranty,
Oh,
and it's supposed to be a 4-year warranty, and this has never happened from like AutoZone, or if you order something on Amazon and you tell them it doesn't work, they take it back immediately. But if you
Yeah.
order a battery from Walmart, they were running all kinds of tests. I'm like, okay, we bought a new one. My car started. We put this one in. It didn't start. Please just
Lovely.
switch them out and give me my $200 back. And we did not ask in the nicest way. My husband was a little irritated, and we had other plans, but
no.
we tried the not
Jeez.
so nice way of saying, "Hey, we have the receipt, and you don't need to run a test. We already did the test, and then that didn't work, so we went to a different Walmart."
Oh no.
And tried to be a little nicer and got the $200 back. So sometimes it's a little,
Man.
trial
It
and
is.
error of
That's
how
a
you
hoop.
say things. And it's the same thing with podcasting too, right? Like
Yes.
when you first start
Hey,
telling
would
your
you like to
story, you're all
collab?
over the place.
Yeah.
And the more
Yeah.
you tell it, you solidify and you realize what hits with the audience and what doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's
That's what
just
dating
like
is kind of
YouTube.
like too.
Yeah, it's
It
just like
totally
YouTube.
is. Yeah.
Yep.
You're like, oh, you didn't like that story? I got another one.
Yeah, true
But wait,
story.
there's more.
Yeah, there's always more. It's you go back to everything. Like if you look at the first person that really changed your life, you go to where you're at now with who you're currently with, and you're like, wow, what a change in perspective. They have a tiny ounce of what that person used to be,
Yeah.
but
You can't
this
escape
person
the full you, but you can
yeah,
do
I
away with the
actually
bad
believe
habits.
too, like there's different levels of soulmates based upon like how much work you
yes.
do on yourself.
Oh, definitely.
That
God,
is resonating. Holy
yeah,
moly, yeah.
Crystal was my twin flame. And I really crave that bond a lot, because that's one thing that it's energy based. And if you have people listening now and they don't know what I'm talking about, or if you have those that are like, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about, like, good, you know where I'm going with this. Energy based connections are so rare because it's a
Mhm.
wavelength deal. Like, you can walk into a room and people will stare at you and then they'll look away. And then there's that one person or a few people that keep staring and they're like, okay. And then there's the times where you're just somewhere and you talk to somebody and you hit it off and keep hitting it off, and it's like iron hitting iron. You keep sharpening the blade and it keeps it ting ting ting, and
Man.
you put it in the water, it fizzes, and you hope you meet them again. And then you meet up again and it's ting 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 ting, and the iron's getting sharper and it's becoming more defined.
I'm like, what drink
And
is that?
Yeah, I was about to say.
no drinks. It's just I'm using a
Just kidding.
sword making as a metaphor because I love swords. And you
In
get
case
to
you
the
couldn't
point,
tell.
yeah, you get to the point where it's like you meet up and it's just bang, bang, and the sword is so much stronger between you. And going to J. Michael Straczynski with his quote, understanding is a
TV
three-edged
creator, for
sword.
those who don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Your truth, their truth, and the truth. Yeah.
that's a hell
Your
of a
side,
truth.
their side, and the truth. Yeah.
Your truth, their side. Yours, is it
No,
your story, their
it's
story, nothing but the truth.
yes,
There
that
you go.
I love that quote.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
And
guys. I have to go. My
no,
husband is shouting. I've got to go actually because it's 10:30 in DC. So
it's early. That's only 10:30.
we
Jesus,
haven't
dude.
had our dinner yet. I'm really bad. I've made
All
it.
right.
Well, but before you go,